Cassie Howard is arguably the most hated character in Euphoria. But if we are being completely honest with ourselves, we don't hate Cassie because she is a villain. We hate her because she is a mirror. She reflects a painful, universal reality that most of us are too ashamed to admit. The reality of being a teenage girl and losing your entire identity in the desperate, suffocating pursuit of being loved. While Maddie Perez represents the dark feminine energy we all wish we had, Cassie is the tragic reality of who we become when we prioritize validation over our own souls. Today, we are going to break down the tragedy of Cassie Howard, the psychology of a people pleaser, and the agonizing process of losing and trying to find yourself. Being a teenage girl is an inherently chaotic and vulnerable experience. It is the time in your life when you are supposed to be figuring out who you are. You are supposed to make mistakes, discover your passions, and build your own internal world. But instead, society teaches girls to look outward. We are taught from a very young age that our value is determined by how desirable we are to others. Cassie is the ultimate victim of this mindset. On the outside, she plays the role of the sweet, innocent, perfect blonde angel. But beneath that good girl facade is a terrifying, bottomless black hole of insecurity. She has no internal compass. She doesn't know who she is when there isn't a man looking at her, validating her existence. To understand Cassie, you have to understand the root of her trauma. It's not just about boys, it's about a profound, paralyzing fear of abandonment. For someone like Cassie, silence is deafening. Being alone with her own thoughts is the most terrifying thing in the world, because in that silence, she has to face the fact that she doesn't actually like herself. To avoid that emptiness, she constantly seeks out noise. The noise of a toxic relationship, the noise of drama. The noise of a boy telling her she is beautiful. She would rather be treated poorly by someone than be ignored by everyone. Because to her, being ignored feels like she ceases to exist entirely. There is a specific moment in season 3 where Rue perfectly dissects Cassie's psychology. She observes that Cassie would literally humiliate herself for a shred of attention. And that is the heartbreaking truth about the disease to please. When you are a chronic people pleaser, you don't just compromise. You erase yourself. You constantly shift your personality, your style, your laugh, and your boundaries to fit whatever the person in front of you wants. You become a chameleon, blending into the background of someone else's life. But the ultimate tragedy of being a chameleon is that by trying to be everything to everyone, you slowly, invisibly become absolutely nothing. You hollow yourself out until there is nothing left but an echo. This desperation peaks in her notorious 4 a.m. beauty routine. We watch Cassie wake up before dawn, intensely scrubbing her skin, using ice rollers, and spending hours obsessing over every microscopic detail of her appearance. When this scene first aired, TikTok called it an aesthetic self-care routine. But psychologically, it is pure, unfiltered self-destruction. She isn't doing this to feel good in her own body. She isn't doing this for her own health. She is torturing herself for the slight chance that Nate might glance at her in the hallway for 3 seconds. It's a performance of perfection driven by agonizing anxiety. It is the physical manifestation of begging to be chosen. When you betray your own boundaries for someone else's approval, the paranoia begins to eat you alive. You start living a double life. And this leads to the most chilling scene in the series. Cassie stares into the mirror, her face covered in tears, forcing a manic, unhinged smile and screams, "I have never, ever been happier." It is terrifying to watch. She is trying so hard to convince herself that the sacrifice was worth it, that losing her best friend, destroying her dignity, and abandoning her morals was a fair price to pay for a toxic boy's attention. But the mirror doesn't lie. She isn't happy. She is a hostage to her own lies. The hardest part about losing yourself to people pleasing isn't the moment you hit rock bottom. It isn't the drama or the fights. It is the terrifying aftermath. When the toxic relationship ends or the attention fades, you are left alone in a quiet room, and you realize you have no idea who you are anymore. What music do you actually like? What do you want to wear when no one is looking? How do you even speak when you aren't trying to impress someone? Rebuilding your identity from scratch is a painful, lonely process. It requires you to sit with your own emptiness and slowly fill it with your own authentic voice instead of the echoes of what other people wanted you to be. Cassie's storyline is a brutal warning. Please do not put the pen to your own life in someone else's hands. Love that requires you to destroy your own identity isn't love, it's possession. You have to learn how to validate yourself. You have to stop shrinking your personality to fit into rooms you don't even belong in. Be brave enough to face the silence. Be brave enough to be yourself. Your life is a movie, and it's time you start acting like the director.